Okay, let's talk systems and staffing. So give the official...
This is boner time for you, right?
A little bit of boner time. Give me the official wording of the goal.
It was finish off phase 2 staffing and systems. And we talked sustainable staffing here too.
Okay. Well, we already talked a little bit about sustainable staffing in the other episode, so maybe we don't even need to do that. But yeah, I like this one for a few reasons. One, because it seems to be one that we really... We're good at ticking off. Like, we actually haven't added anybody new in 2017 because, it's still January, but give us time. But
but the systems are already, I mean, we got a CFO. I mean,
that's what I was going to say is we haven't made new hires, but we have shuffled accordingly.
Yeah.
And actually, we haven't talked about Jaime. We have somebody doing graphics and he's fantastic. Like it's
new Smarter Artist logo.
New Smarter Artist logo, some new just other graphics that he's
doing some cover work, some
perfect
promo stuff. So,
but we do seem to be able to tick those off with a little bit more efficacy than sometimes I realize. It's like, oh, okay, so we can, like right now we're looking for that compiler and in a very specific way, so you don't need to contact us because we're already on it. But like we're looking for that, and it's the hiring is just working a little better than I thought. But the systems and stuff. Because I see this as like, it makes easier work. So just as an example of a very, very simple system, I used to make some of the images for us, like 3D graphic book images and stuff. And then I would
you should never be doing that.
No, but it was like I was the one who knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And so Robin would say, my wife, who's up working as our director of operations, she would say, if you write that down and describe what it is you need, then Jaime can make those graphics. And so I'm like, oh, but I need it now, and I have 50 other things on my plate. But I tell myself that if I just take the time to write it out, then I never have to do it again.
Right.
Which is just beautiful. And so that's the way I see all of these systems is like, how do we take what we already have and make it better and easier and faster?
It's like you say, we're putting on our big boy pants and we're, okay, well now we are actually a company and we need SOPs. Like we've never had those procedures before. We've never taken the time to do that. And now we need to know what everybody does. We need to be more accountable for our time. Payroll is a little out of control. So we need to make sure that we're efficient with that time so that we're at least trying to ROI. And that a lot of that is on us. Like, what are we having people do? What are our systems? How much are they in place? And we could talk a little bit about like the difference between like reports, right? Like that's different. And you're having regular meetings.
Reporting, now. Yeah. I was actually going to talk about this. So we're still learning. Like I've been doing some really, really dry learning. Reading on, corporate structure.
I got some of those links.
But it's so like mind numbing and it's not like how I want to spend my time, but I do want to understand it.
Right. But it's like recording things for Jaime, right? It's like once we get
it. Yeah. And so understanding like kind of what are the major functional areas within our business and what's the best way to organize things and reporting and stuff so that we're able to hit everything without micromanaging everything has been a really big deal. So like I had a meeting with Christine and Tammy and I told each of them at some point, stop going to Sean with that, because like they shouldn't be going to you for to-dos and check-ins. They should be coming to me. They should be going to you for like brainstorming. And so Christine is still going to have meetings with you.
But that's still so nice. It's like getting freed up. It means that Christine is using her time better, you're using your time better, I'm using my time better, and the whole company is just healthier.
Yeah, a lot of what we've learned about this first round of systems is not necessarily who needs to do what, but who should not do what. So it actually has been a lot about subtraction, which is really interesting. It's been like, okay, we don't both need to attend that, do we? We don't need this person on this. There were a bunch of things yesterday I told Christine, don't worry about that. Or push it to the back of your priority list. Or there was one thing like the fiction autoresponders. I said, I got that, but I want to try and clear off plates as much as stack on. So what you were mentioning about meetings is we have 5 major teams within the company that we've identified. One is education. This is like you doing the goals. Let's see if I can remember them. One is sort of education and education, but also experiences, because those are education. One is, and Amy is in charge of that. Amy's the team leader for that. One is AV, audiovisual, and that's the podcast network and the videos like this. That's Audra. She's in charge of that. One is marketing and promotion. Those are together. And so that's Christine, and Tammy is under and not under in terms of priority, but like under that umbrella functionally. So promotions. And the other is book production, and that's temporarily you. It shouldn't be you, but it is you. I actually feel like I am missing one now that I'm thinking about it for Christine, because I know Christine has a dual role. But the point is, those are the leaders.
Well, that's already infinitely more organized than it's ever been.
Had.
Right.
So what we decided is, okay, so if you omit...
Did you get operations in there and CFO role? Or?
Well, but those weren't teams. And so I know that we're playing a little fast and loose with the way that we're doing things, and I've been told that our organizational chart is not really what it should be, but I don't care about that. Like it's all about
we need to understand it, and we need
iterate
to
forward.
Right. Because we didn't have any company structure before. We had the way we did things and the way we were comfortable doing things. But big boy pants, no more.
Well, right. And one of the things that I read recently was the idea of, sort of organizing your company with functions, not people or roles. So it's not like saying Sean and Johnny. It's not like saying CEO and COO. It's saying these are the things that need to be done. Executive management team, marketing as a function, that sort of thing. And then saying who can fill the hats. And so one of the things that we've started to do is to say, okay, well, you fill this role for now, and you fill this role for now, and we'll shake those things up and do them later, and figure them out later. But for now, like, we just want to make sure that all the things are touched. And so Robin and I are sort of sharing a role of operations, but by our definition, it's like check in on all the stuff,
right? Rather
than what technically operations normally is. So my point about the team leaders is, we said, other than you, there are 4 people we touch base with: Christine, Amy, Audra, and the person I'm forgetting is going to be really mad at me. Who is that?
Wait, who do you have so far?
I said Christine, Amy, Audra, Seth, because that's the other team, Story Shop, which isn't technically a team.
But it kind of is in context of this. Because
he's not really under Sterling and Stone, but kind of. So because there are 4, we said, well, there's 4 weeks in a month, and so we're doing a rotating basis of every Monday, Robin and I, and she's operations director or the person who watches all the stuff, are meeting with that person.
So what happens is we get more teams.
Then we'll have to shift, we'll have to adjust, we'll have to pivot. But for now, and then you're going to have to, next Tuesday, it's your turn, so you got to come to me, and we'll sit down and we'll cover book production. But just that, I know that this isn't a new concept, but I know that I've heard Tony Robbins say, like, if you have a goal, it's a dream, if you just check in on it once.
Right.
And so the more often you check in on something, it will flat out happen. And so, suddenly we're checking in every single week. Well, what are you up to? What are your challenges? What's overwhelming you? What do you want to do going forward? What can we help with? And that's huge.
Yeah, that's really big. And it's another point of maturity for the company. Mm-hmm. Like we did a lot of growing up in 2016, but I think the big thing was it let us know in what ways we need to continue to grow up in 2017. Right. And that's exciting, because you should never be too old to learn, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a week away from turning 40. Like I am excited to see what's next. Like, I've been happy with what I learned from 30 to 40, but I still feel like there's so much more I need, right? Mm-hmm. Even recently with you, you're like, okay, what books can I read about being a CEO? Like, I want to fill my brain. And I think that's the thing, that people who are really successful, and I think anybody who's listening to this is probably one of those people who is more curious, mm-hmm. Wants to pull a little harder, do a little more. That's what you have to do. You have to never stop being curious, right? It's like, that Eminem line, I just love so much. I'm full of myself, but still hungry. Like, it's no matter how good you get at what you do or how much you feel you've accomplished, there's still so much more you could feed yourself with. And I think that paying attention to what we've been good at, and then how to systematize that stuff, mm-hmm. so that we can open the door for new employees and new systems and new team members, more than employees. I think this year we're going to definitely get some employees, but
I think we need them.
We also want more team members, and I think those are different things. I think they can be the same, but not always. And mm-hmm. And I think that we're much better about recognizing that than we have been before, which means that we will be able to finish that phase 2. But you look, like, on the Avalanche slide, remember how many different positions there are, right? Because if we look at the things that we're trying to do, there are so many positions we could fill. So,
and we can't manage them unless we have the systems.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we one of Christine's major things is she's like, I don't want to be a project manager, but she understands that in the short term, that's the role she's got to fill, which is
Right,
perfect.
book production,
that's the hat she's got to wear.
Right, and there's a lot of that for me too, right? It's like, well, all of us are doing some things that shouldn't optimally be doing, but we're going to do them right now because that is what's best for the company.
Yeah, and then the last piece of this would be, you alluded to it briefly, was the idea of installing a CFO. Now, there's a lot in here. We could do a whole episode on it, and we won't. Eventually we will, because I actually think there's some really good points here.
Me too.
But the point is that we have, and our consultant, actually, this is a point I've made a few times, and I think I'll just cover it briefly, is that entrepreneurs are used to working at break even or a loss. Like, I know that I've heard you say a few times, like, well, you just got to spend first and then I'll make it up later.
Yeah.
And what he said was, you know what, you start to grow up, you need to have somebody with a more level head than you to kind of say no sometimes,
right,
and make you operate at least a 10% margin. And so that's what we're starting to do now, is not only get all of our financial pieces in order and our legal pieces and things that we've played fast and loose on, but also to understand that we're going to need to make internal business cases. Like, look at the profit and loss and, well, that sounds really exciting, but how's it going to pay for itself? And if it isn't, if it's a long-term investment, show me the thing over here that's going to pay for it so that the business doesn't lose money. And that's all going to be really interesting.
Right, and we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the company. We owe it to the team members to be asking those questions anyway.
Because it's their livelihood too.
Right. So I think that's all good. And it really does help us with things like Story Shop, which is the next thing we want to talk about.
Okay, well, I think in the next one we should talk about Story Shop.
That's an excellent idea.